I am here with not only a great guest, but a very super patient guest. As there were 2 times scheduling, Barbara, and I'll throw myself, when I do wrong, and I really appreciate your time, your flexibility, and I'm looking forward to a great interview today. I am here with Barbara With. So welcome to the show, Barbara.
Oh, Bob, thanks for having me. And I'm just happy I'm not the only one that does those things. So.
Now I got to tell you, I'm so much at peace with those candles already behind you. I'm feeling good, and I'm feeling really nice. Would you mind starting off? You have a great website, by the way. I love the font. The red font. It's almost like a lipstick font on your website with your name. I think that's fantastic. But beyond that, you've got a lot of great stuff and a lot of great services that you have, and we'll ask them certainly to go there. I'll put in the show notes. But give our listeners a quick interview of who you are, because you've been doing a lot of great work for a long time.
Okay. So by way of introduction, then, I'm going to just kind of synopsize the context from which we are going to spring, because I know there's a lot of questions that can come out of the blue here, and then I'd have to describe that over there. So let me just kind of give you an idea of who I am. I started out as a musician. I started teaching myself piano when I was 5, writing music when I was 12, and I went out on the road when I was 17. In rock and roll, which was back in the early 70s when you could do those kinds of things. And talk about afraid of nothing, So I went out on the road.
You a singer, by the way? Did you play?
I'm a singer, a pianist, a producer. I've got a lot of music that's been produced, and my whole life, from the time I was 5 years old, holding a hairbrush, singing Heat Wave, right in the basement. Wow. I've wanted to be a rock star. That was my goal. That was what I was going to manifest. And I did really, I worked my butt off. I've written hundreds and hundreds of songs. Some are award winning. And I focused on that. But what was happening on the sideline was, in high school, I had a friend named Mike, whose mom was a psychic. And he just said, "Hey, you got to see what my mom does." It's like, what does your mom do? I wasn't looking for a psychic, but, I ended up going to see his mother, whose name was Eunice McCoy, and she would light a candle, but she had a picture of Jesus, and she would close her eyes, and she said she went out in outer space and she didn't remember anything, but she would talk in this voice of we, and it was the most insightful. It was like they were living in my head, whoever these we were, and there was predictive stuff in it, but most of it was about, because I was coming out of a very traumatic childhood and had a lot to deal with. And most of it was, in retrospect, about how to take care of myself. And whatever it was really helped me to maintain and thrive and understand and survive some pretty tough stuff. So I saw her for about 10 years, maybe off and on. I'd go see her and have a reading, and a lot of what she said came true about my music. I was winning awards. I was regionally being recognized.
What was your band? What was the name of your band?
Oh, there were many, but I had the Barbara With Band.
Okay.
I was based in Minneapolis, and you probably never heard of me, but we played everywhere around the 5 states, and I've been just playing forever. But anyway, in 1987, I had come in off the road because it was really tough. And I was writing a letter to a friend telling them how bad it is that they're so judgmental, setting me right up for my own work. And suddenly my hands became independent of my thinking, and beautiful stuff that I was not thinking to say to her started flowing out of me. Yes, because when you judge things like a lens in the eye, you close down and all you see is a small part of the whole. So open up. We're waiting. So, I knew what it was. I'd been with Eunice for 10 years or so. I knew what it was, but I was still pretty shocked. And yet it felt vaguely like songwriting. Because when I used to describe writing a song, I say I go into the nothing and I'd listen for the songs already written. I don't sit down and go, let's write a song about this. It's just, here it comes. I'm going to translate it. So it felt like that. But when I asked them, well, who are you? Because wouldn't you? was like, who are you? Eunice was just an antenna. That's how she described herself. She never talked to dead people or angels or Pleiadians or anything. It was just, I'm picking up your higher power. Huh. They said sound.
So just to be clear, she just spoke to spirits. She didn't speak to any other type of entities or angels and spirits. Is that all she?
No, she just described herself as an antenna that could pick up my higher power, whatever that was.
Wow.
You know, I mean, I'm 16 and she's telling me this, like, what's my higher power? What is that? I don't know, but I'm not afraid of anything apparently. So I just moved right in with this. And this is the theme that's going to come up in the whole story, is that ultimately we have to judge these things by the fruits. So that voice from Eunice was helping me be a fuller person, somebody a little more stable than I wasn't at that time, and really helping me survive was what mattered to me. So when they said we are sound, I thought, okay, I've been working with sound since I was old enough to remember. I'm okay with that. I know what that is, and sure, let's go with that. So that's how I became a psychic. And I started doing readings. I did 2 readings for 2 of my good friends and said, I don't know if it helps, pass my name on, and like $25 I'll charge for a reading, and people would come over and sit and I'd write. And eventually I began speaking like Eunice did. And along about 1993, because this was so fascinating, and this was before the internet, and people would come and go, and they never really talked much to me about it. It wasn't like I was counseling them on what the readings were saying. They would take their tape and off they go. But I wanted to know, what would these voices of we say to a group of people? Edgar Cayce used to channel for groups, and Jane Roberts had small groups. And nobody in my clientele seemed very interested. And then Teresa came as a referral, and she sent 6 of her girlfriends. And then in the fall, her best friend, Kim, came. And when Kim came, now you have to remember, Kim was a very conservative businesswoman, Republican, pearls matched her shoes, would never have gone to a psychic except for a crisis, which is, what drives us to do things oftentimes that we don't normally do. And when she came, the energy just got super elevated, and I noted it, but I didn't think much of it until she called me and said, well, I've transcribed my reading, and I want to know what this means. And what does this mean? And I was like, what? And then they started following me, Kim and Teresa, to my gigs, because I was playing at this hotel in Minneapolis at the time, and we blah, 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 blah. And long story short, here's my group. And they wanted me to come and be with them and their group. So we started what we call the psychic sorority. And we started organizing groups in our living rooms, taping them on a little cassette tape player and transcribing them to see what these voices would say. I mean, that's kind of how I am with these things. What are they going to say?
Did you know? Were you like, was it Eunice? What was the woman that you
Eunice McCoy.
Was it like Eunice McCoy, where you were just an antenna too, or did you summon? Well, you're a channeler, so you can channel people. We'll get into that in a minute. But yeah,
at the time, no, I couldn't channel. I didn't think I was channeling anybody. Okay. I thought I was an antenna. Yeah. And the sound, that's what I'm channeling. I'm channeling some sound that's talking to me. But again, kind of because the fruits were so unbelievable and inspiring and remarkable, I didn't really care.
Did they call that clear audio or clairaudient, or what's the?
There's a whole bunch of different, I call them intuitive arts.
Okay, yeah, because if it's mostly just sound, it used to be clairaudient or something like that, I thought. Yeah, okay.
And that's kind of how it started, in that vein. But when Kim and Teresa, on one of our first triad readings, asked, well, who are you? They said, you can call us angels. And that was the next skeptical me going, what? What do you mean? What does that mean? Angels. What are you talking about? And so the 3 of us talked, and long story short, we decided that since what they were telling us was so profound and was changing our lives so much for the better, we didn't care if it was the Easter Bunny. Because what these angels told us, and thank God there were 3 of us, because if I was just alone in this, you would think I was crazy, but we have witnesses. So they said, we have this theory about if humans resolve their conflicts first within this process with themselves that we want to teach you, our theory is that the byproduct will be world peace. And we need some humans who have real conflicts to test our theory on. And so apparently we volunteered and were chosen, air quotes, to be these people who would come together and take this dictation and then apply it to our actual conflicts.
Wow.
No.
So it's kind of like world peace, one awakened individual at a time, because it's kind of like, and then interesting. Okay, wow, yeah.
Yeah, well, and you'll get into when the question about how did I know it was Einstein, we'll get into how that fits into this concept. But so we did this work, we had our first fight, and we were sitting at my dining room table, and I was like pointing at her, and she was pointing at me, and we were, it was like, and I said, hold up. Let's get the transcript and see, they just gave us this beautiful thing and I got it. And the line that I picked out said, if you are involved in a conflict, the root of your part is within you. And that was revolutionary to me as somebody who had grown up in the victim perpetrator cycle. No, it's you. And then I think that's how we all are raised. It's the basis of war. Well, no, it's you. What did that mean to look inside and find that? And
so rather than saying it's my mother or a father problem or whatever, it's looking at you at your core and seeing, how you let that impact you and how you need to move forward. So that's the revolution versus the resolution, I guess. So I'm just trying
the resolution is about sitting down with people, making sure you're saying things compassionately and you're listening. This was a whole process just for an individual to take responsibility for first and foremost their own piece of whatever that conflict is.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
This is an Afraid of Nothing Paranormal Podcast Alert.
$10 merch. $10 merch.
That's right, podcast fans. If you go to our website, afraidofnothingpodcast.com, and click on the store tab, you too can find now $10 merch on the website. So not only can you get the great stuff like the hoodies and the t-shirts and the blankets and the glasses, you can also get stickers and bumper stickers and, well, a whole lot more. You need to see it yourself. But just remember this.
$10 merch
is now available at the Afraid of Nothing podcast store. Check it out. And remember, never be afraid to look good. That's how long does that take? It can't be done in one session, I don't think, right? It would be, a guy like me, I'm probably a hot mess, or something, what's the...
Yeah, most people really are once you learn about it. All the things that we're projecting on other people, all the things we are emotionally charged and we're so sure that person is doing this to me, that's where the revolution, where we take our focus off of him or her. We bring with us the projection, though. Well, they just don't respect my time. All right, let's pull this back and revolve back and start looking at ourselves to see where we're not respecting our time, your time, whatever. It's a whole revolutionary way of dealing with it that I'm guarantee you most of the world doesn't want to do.
Interesting. And you have on your website, you have a section on that. There are like 3 realms. One is Einstein, one is conflict revolution. So you have a whole program about that, right? Where there's a workbook that they can do to monitor themselves and do ongoing introspection and resolving their issues. Is that accurate?
Yes. And conflict revolution was born from that story of the psychic sorority, because after we started to work with it in our real-time conflicts and work together to go, and it was quite a feat. And, 33 years later, we look back and think, what were we thinking? How did we keep motivated? But we put it together and we started to have these miraculous sort of outcomes. Like when they say world peace, one person, that world peace is going to be a byproduct. So for me, after the first fight that we had and we resolved it in this revolutionary way, and we just were mind blown how beautiful the process was from where it had been going. And that night I went to work. I was playing at a bar in Minneapolis, and there was a waitress there who just didn't ever care for me, which is just fine. I don't care. But I walked in that night, and she was my best friend. Oh, she couldn't get enough of me. Barbara, do you like Patti Smith? I've got some cassettes I could give you. Put $20 in my tip jar. And again, I was like, what's going on here? And then this is the empirical experience of going, oh my God, this is what they're talking about. This isn't world peace, but it's a natural, Einstein said you cannot address the issues at the level they're being created. You have to address them at the root. And when you do it, apparently these angels said, here, things will change outside you naturally. It'll be a byproduct of it. I couldn't go at that waitress and say, hey, how come you don't like me?
Can I throw in an observation here?
Yeah.
Barbara, if you don't mind. So when I was at your website, there were like 3 tranches or whatever, like 3 levels. There was the psychic sisters, which kind of was like the evolution, I guess, of your capabilities. And then there was the conflict revolution, which is kind of like the cause, right? The cause that came out of it, which was, peace movement, but starting with you and then growing it. And then came the Einstein factor, because I believe he died with a lot of guilt, about being involved, with the atomic bomb. He was probably a pacifist and a peace, movement guy. And it's just still bothering him in the afterlife. And that's probably where you're going. But I guess I'm trying to stitch together what we've been talking about. And I think that's kind of the evolution of you and who you are today and the services that you provide.
Yeah, and that's exactly right, because you couldn't have shown me Einstein when I was first doing automatic writing and I asked, who are you? Who are you? Oh, well, it's Einstein. Whoa, really?
I got to throw in one thing before I lose it. Barbara with the Einstein Party would have been a great name for a rock band, but but go ahead.
As it was, the Barbara with band often had people thinking I was a stripper who traveled with my own band. So let's not go there.
A lot of refunds. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So anyway, yes, that's where conflict revolution came. And I started training that in St. Paul. I was at a nonprofit and I started working it as staff development, and then I got into training, conflict revolution. And so the psychic sorority, we published our first book, Diaries of a Psychic Sorority, in 1997. And
an award-winning book, I should say, right?
Yes, we did win an award. We did.
Yay.
And we had a literary agent who we were also shopping it to bigger publishing companies. We published it ourselves. And in 1998, she got a call from a tabloid in London. Okay, like a metaphysical tabloid, everything, UFOs and Jesus on toast and all that stuff. And they wanted a interview with Princess Di on the 1-year anniversary of her death from beyond the grave. And could I do that? So here's another moment in my life where I was like, wait a minute. Okay, so I'd learned that I could speak to people who had passed on because they were coming to reveal themselves to me. Like dead people would show themselves to me and say, can you help my daughter or whatever? And I'd say, well, get me in front of her. So I knew I could do that, but they came to me. I didn't go looking. I wouldn't go to you and say, hey, I can talk to your grandpa. Grandpa would have to come to me.
All right.
So I thought, well, again, because I'm afraid of nothing, I said, let's just see what happens. And
I gotta love you saying "Afraid of Nothing." It's Afraid of Nothing podcast, and this is a perfect segue, right? We can, awesome. I love it.
I want to stress that this is an important topic of being afraid of nothing. Anyway, so I channeled it typing, and I read it afterwards, and just wept. It was so beautiful, and her whole message, aside from all the details about the stuff, was if everybody who put flowers in front of the palace did conflict revolution, we'd have world peace in a day.
Wow.
So Princess Di was also a big peace activist, as we all knew. And the tabloid flew me out to New York and spent 5 hours with me and didn't want the interview because it didn't have anything dirty about Camilla and Charles in it. But my agent, always thinking, said, hey, maybe there's more famous dead people who want to talk. And I thought, okay, let's see what that means. And so we made this long list, and I'd imagine I would go to them like in my head, okay, Mother Teresa, no, she's tired. Gandhi said it all, all this. And so the second person up on our list was Nicole Brown Simpson.
Ah, wow, okay.
And that was mind-blowing to me.
Murdered women. I mean, what the thing? They got to, you got to get off of that. That's too negative, right?
I think the whole party might have been murdered in some way.
Wow.
So anyway, we got to John F. Kennedy. There's another one. And he basically said, first of all, this isn't your idea. We are 12 people who have gathered here in Afterlife to help you with this world peace mission that you're on.
Interesting.
So that's where the party of 12 came. They told us we are a party of 12. And then he said, so put your list away, because Einstein wasn't even on it.
Was it? No. Oh, okay. Wow.
And so when Einstein came up and I channeled it by speaking, it was the voice of all of my readings. Do their personalities come out? How do they say who they are, but can you oh God, yeah, that's Camelot, that's JFK, or that's you hear their voice in your head when you're reading. You can hear his voice, and he's
Are there any of the party of 12 that you're like, that guy wasn't very cool in the modern life? He's okay now, but are they all
Hitler?
Yeah, or whomever, is there
Hitler.
anybody?
No,
Hitler. Hitler's in the party of 12?
Yes.
Oh my God. Can you rattle off the party of 12? Or do you
Princess Di.
Yep.
Gianni Versace, another murder. Nicole Brown Simpson. Einstein. Freud. Hitler. Jackie Onassis. Ryan White. Do you remember Ryan White? He was the kid, the preteen teen who got AIDS during a blood transfusion back in the 80s and ended up dying of AIDS, but he's greatly persecuted for that. Anwar Sadat.
Wow.
Also another murdered, right? Jesus. Who are the two I'm missing? Norma Jean Baker. And, oh gosh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. You're a man. Hey, I'm impressed with 11.
Not to you. To them.
Okay, yeah. So, someone will come through. When I do the audio, a name will come through. That's happened before, by the way. When I do the audio, sometimes I get EVPs that come through never on my end, but on the speaker's end. Okay. Not often, but like 1 out of every 10 or 12 episodes, I'll have that.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. So we'll see. That name might pop up. So
anyway, that's how I met Einstein.
God, that sounds like a party. It sounds like a Thanksgiving meal with a lot of people arguing over stuff. It just
kind of. But they each delivered their dissertation, and they each had a slice of culture. Like obviously, John Kennedy had politics and blah blah blah, and Norma Jean Baker had femininity and the power of women, and Nicole Brown Simpson had race relations and domestic abuse. So they all had a piece of this culture, and it was fascinating. And I'm just along for a ride. Like, okay, I'll be the steno. I'll do this. So it took me a month to do all 12 interviews, and it just blew my mind.
And is that a book? That's a book that you did?
Party of 12, the Afterlife interviews.
Interesting. Now, was that you with the psychic sorority, or just you that talks to the Party of 12, or is it all?
No, I went off to the Party of 12 and the psychic sorority. We stayed together, but we stopped doing groups and working so closely together because, frankly, the two girls, the two women, were like, we didn't sign up to channel Hitler.
Well, yeah.
And I didn't blame him. I didn't either, but I was not afraid. I wanted to see what he was going to say, and it was really, really profound. And to the day, and time only makes it better now that everybody's Hitler, right?
Yeah.
You're Hitler. You're Hitler. It's like,
you know what? It would have been interesting if one of the party of 12 was one of the people that crucified Jesus, since Jesus is in the room. That's one of the original sins. That would have been interesting. But
yeah.
anyway.
Well, that's a longer conversation.
Yeah. That's amazing. So Einstein kind of came to a door that said jury room or something, right? And then he joined the group, joined the band, and he became your lead spokesperson for this group, or what kind of happened?
Kind of. I think what happened was there was always this plan that was going to elevate him out of the group. And the group was the first introduction. And of course, I think it's an absolutely fascinating book, especially as time passes. But I was so enamored with the fact that Einstein had been the voice of all my readings from the very beginning. Wow. What does this mean? So 2005 rolled around and I thought, hey, let's do a little book with Einstein. It's a 100-year anniversary of E equals MC squared. Let's see what he'd have to say. I'm all sorts of, yeah. And so I channeled several groups and transcribed them and sat down one winter to edit. And I imagined he was sitting right here with me editing. And so it's 2005. There is the internet. And I would imagine him saying, hey, Google black holes. So I did. Okay, take these 3 terms from this and put it over here in our map. And so like birds building a nest, wow. He delivered what he didn't do in real life, which was a unified field theory. And it was complete with a map of human consciousness, as we called it. And it defined compassion in scientific quantifiable force.
It's a measurable force.
A fifth force of the universe. Yep.
Oh, evil must be the negative stuff, and compassion is the positive stuff. I don't know.
Well, it's a little different because he's taken terms that we have different meanings for, and he's pulled them into a revolutionary definition that is, we use it every single time we're dealing with any of this. Doesn't mean that there's not other definitions, but compassion is the creative intelligence that uses the other 4 fundamental forces to impel the creation of this physical world one step at a time.
So what are the other forces? Is it earth, wind, fire, water?
No. It's electromagnetics,
okay,
which is like charging things. Gravity, which is like guiding things.
Yep.
The strong nuclear force, which is the attracting and the repelling.
Okay.
And the weak nuclear force, which is the transformation, when something turns from 1 to 2 to green to blue. So that's what he defined compassion as. Now, I only wanted to be a rock star. Okay. So I don't know about science and math, but I was going along with this. And then the big thing that really threw me was he said, and the source of everything is the center of the earth. And it operates like a black hole. And at the time, I literally said to my imagined Einstein, are you kidding me? I have to get out in front of scientists who know stuff and tell them that the earth is the center of the source and it operates like a black hole. Is that even possible?
Yeah.
But
especially after Disclosure Day just came out, that movie,
Right. So anyway, but I went with it because so far, so good, after all these years of going, what's this? And okay, we'll go. And that was the book, Imagining Einstein, Essays on M-Theory, World Peace, and the Science of Compassion.
Have you ever had academics or, brilliant minds say, look, I'm not going to support you in public, but, on the side here, you're onto something. A lot of times they won't put their reputation out on the table, right? They have to.
It's so funny. My father, who I was very estranged with, although I found a deep peace before he died, but I didn't have him in my life. He was a pretty abusive fellow that didn't take responsibility for any of it. And right before he died, he called me, and I picked up. I don't know even why. And that was the first thing he said. He said, I don't really fully understand this, but I think you're on to something. Wow. But in answer to your question, what I tell people, anybody, I don't care who, if it's a scientist or not, it's like, I don't know. This is what I've just told you is the truth of the story. Is it Einstein? I think it is, but I don't know. But you tell me. You tell me what it is. Is it me being this sort of weird kind of maybe autistic ability to make people come to me like the psychic sorority. And I mean, there's so many players in this story. But this, Bob, is the reason why they couldn't just, back when I was automatic writing, say, oh, yeah, it's Einstein. I've come to deliver the unified field. Because I personally, Barbara With, would have lost my mind. That's just crazy making. It's been crazy making.
So tell me about Einstein, if you can, in the afterlife. Isn't he supposed to be at rest then? But it sounds like he's still kind of thinking and trying to solve things, right? Is that accurate? Or
I don't think that being at rest is the automatic state of afterlife.
Okay.
I think there's some people who need to rest and will rest. I think there's probably times where everybody needs to rest after you die. His explanation, though, in imagining Einstein was when he died, and now, of course, all of his theories support this, is that he sped up from the speed of light. His energy and frequency sped up from the speed of light to the speed of light squared. So it was like whoosh. And he just went right to work. He explored everything. And who else but Einstein would go into afterlife, figure it all out, find a way to round up 3 women, get them to do the bidding, and then deliver this unified field theory based on not just the channeling, but the work that we as the 3 of us, that research, that aside from the channeling, what he's saying is what we did with that.
What happens to the big egos? I won't get political, and I know everybody's own thing, but what happens to the big egos when they die? Like a big ego might have been Hitler or whomever. Do they become humble, or are they still like Einstein still has this curiosity, this insatiable curiosity that must drive Jesus up a wall? Like, all right, I answer these questions, but are they humbled when they move on? The Big 12, are they kind of bigger than life still, or are they kind of a little humbled in the afterlife?
I think there's a little bit of everything. So, for example, Hitler basically said, he's in his own hell. He's dealing with the compilation of his whole life, and every decision he made sits with him, and he's working through that. I think maybe
he needs conflict revolution. That's a guy that needs conflict revolution, if anybody.
Well, he was part of the inception of it, which I think was when he died and, got to afterlife and saw that, But also, now, though, think of this, too, is that he wasn't just accidentally evil. He had a covenant. He had a covenant like we all do. And when we leave afterlife and we're going in to manifest a physical life, we're bringing with us sort of a commitment, a promise for something, what are we going to learn in this life? Yeah. Okay. You're going to help me, Dad. You're going to help me be like a visionary. Well, you're going to do it by sexually abusing me. Well, honestly, yeah, that produce the dissociation.
Yeah.
So it's so complicated. I don't think there's easy answers to everything like that.
Yeah, I mean, sure, you had that before. Like Hitler made an agreement before he became a human to go to Earth and create all this kind of disruption and pain. It's tough. It's tough to I mean, who does he say hi to when he's walking down the hall? Hi, oh God,
Well, in Jesus, and going back to Einstein and the jury room, right? Yep. This was the introduction, was that after he died, he found himself in front of this jury room, and he walked in, and at the end of the table was Jesus administering to Hitler while Freud was observing and taking notes. That was his first introduction to the party. And he joined and just observed how everything that Hitler said, Jesus came back with, the peace that passes all understanding. So what a fascinating turn of events if it's true. And I mean, I say that because it's not like I sat down and said, hey, I should make up a story about these 12 people.
That'd be great. And what is the purpose of the jury room and is it heaven? Is it the afterlife? Is it like quadrant 3 out of 5 or whatever, that they're at, or where are they?
I think it's when you see the unified field theory, when you see the map of human consciousness, then I can show you exactly where it is and how it operates and how each lens, because there's, within a black hole, there's a lens, a source, and an observer in how the black hole operates. So we have these three parts, and the source is in the center. The lens is this physical world where our bodies are manifesting. We're having this, and the observer is out in space, and they're connected and they're part of this operating system. So I can show you then how in another life, it's another lens over here with a different space-time body, but it's all originating in the same source. We call it a compilation of consciousness, which we are root. That's the root of who we are. So each life has its own compilation with all the math of who you're going to be, your DNA, space-time body, all the people that are going to be participating with you. So it's a beautiful system that has taken years and years and years, as you can see by this rambling story, to get to where, and now let me just say this, that last summer, after all this, I also published a book in 2016 called Einstein et al.
Yeah, I saw that.
And it's like, this is the last one I'm doing. It's the complete explanation of the unified field theory and conflict revolution, and why the unified field theory is the theory that he thinks proves why conflict revolution works. Why, when you bring this piece here, the projection becomes something greater than you could go at, in the arena of it where it is.
Did Einstein did he try to solve consciousness, or was that something he didn't really deal with until in the afterlife?
I think he didn't. I think he was kind of put off by quantum physics through his life, and he God doesn't play dice with the universe or whatever his whole thing was. He didn't actually go there, but he's said often to us that he wishes he would have, but he could never have gotten it like he did until he got to afterlife and saw it from the other way, how creation, how this is all, and then articulate it. So
now the jury room, how do they feel about the mess we're in now? I mean, are they? How do you feel? I guess you and the psychic sorority, where we're at now in 2026, and I hope I'm not jumping ahead of something you want.
No.
Reel me back in if it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
I sent you questions and I haven't asked one of them, so I totally threw you off. So where we are now in 2026, what are you getting with that? Because I know part of your, the peace movement, I think a lot of people are looking for peace right now. So give me kind of a filter of what you're picking up for where we're at right now and what the jury, the jury of 12 thinks about that.
Well, I think you have to, sort of like when you're talking about Hitler, you have to have these two conversation topics. One is what he's doing in afterlife, and the other is what did he really do in real life. So I think in 2026, there's two things we can look at. We can look at how crazy everything has become, and we can look at the progress that has been made, at least in my lifetime, since this 40 years, decades of doing this work. Because when I look at the physical world and just if I judge the whole by the physical world, it looks pretty dismal. But when I look at how humanity has evolved, and not everybody, but enough people over all of these years of us raising our consciousness and seeking for higher causes, and even in, I think, religions that foster compassion. And that's what I look at. And that's what I think the party looks at, is that they feel like the work that we started doing together has been incredibly full of fruition. That people over and over, I've probably done 200 podcasts in the past couple of years, talking just to so many people like you and a lot of young women people get it. People 30 years ago, if I said, well, you have a physical ailment and at the root of it is some emotional thing, you'd get laughed out of the doctor's office. Now it's just exploded. But it looks like if all we're going to look at is governments and politics, which is very earthbound, then that's what we're going to see. And that's what's happening. But like my own life, when I first started this and I had to become aware that, oh, wait, this is in me. It was a struggle, and it didn't look very pretty a lot of the time as I was working through how not to manifest all of this. And I think, getting back to people want peace, are people willing, because I'm looking for the participation of the willing to be the experimenter like we were in this theory, to at least do the process to see what the outcome is. Because once you do it, once you do conflict resolution fully and truly, and you get your aha moment where you see yourself being the one who's being disrespectful, and that you have an actual pathway of how to change that, and you do it, the miracles that take place, the things that start to manifest, the synchronicity is what hooks you. And you begin to see there isn't going to be any other way. There's no other way to have world peace than this way. It's not. We've exhausted everything.
So yeah. So I'm guessing you're a believer of good and evil, right? On Earth, you believe, and you believe evil. I have people on my podcast. I've done like 140 so far. I've been, but I do it. I've slowed down, as I get older. But some people think that evil is only in man and that there are no demons or devils or whatever, but it's us fighting each other. And, it's our good and bad side. What's your thought on evil, and is it totally in humanity, based on our free will, or is there something that drives us toward evil?
I think there's real live manifestations of demonic energy. I think there always has been and there always will be, because I think, since I'm the root of my life, that I am projecting and perceiving the entire universe. And however it's shown, why does it show up? Why do demons show up to some people and demons never show up to other people? Because it's really rooted in your own experience, perception, maybe karma, maybe destiny to do that. But let me just say, Einstein has redefined evil, is making decisions for the good of the few at the expense of the many.
I hope he told Hitler that. Was Hitler in the room when he said that? I hope so. It's
yeah, well, part of formulating the definition, I think.
Yeah. And make sure Hitler doesn't come back, all right? There's some people that we want to come back with reincarnate. Hitler can stay there and kind of stew in his own juices for a while.
I don't think he's going anywhere.
I'm half joking there, but I'm also not half joking.
I don't think he's coming back anytime soon.
Angels. Can you tell me about angels? What are angels? And do you deal with angels, guardian angels, or just angels overall who have different tasks? What are angels?
After all of these years of angels, I think there's different meanings. I think there is a energy, a frequency that manifests as angelic, the highest good, the highest frequency that there is, the God frequency, manifest in terms of messengers and information. Angels come to give us information and messengers. I also think that there's probably some kind of angelic energy that, I don't want to say inhabits or infests or inspires, like that high frequency, whether you actually see the angel or you feel the presence. And I do think that we come into this life in this physical world with a guardian angel, whether we know it or not, whether we ever hear from them or not, or make contact.
Have you heard from yours, Barbara? Have you heard from your guardian angel?
It's a big party. I just have. I know I've been watched over. I have been watched over my whole entire life in a super metaphysical way.
Were you religious because you had a rough childhood? You probably thought, there's no God. There's no, look at the crap I got to deal with. Were you religious at all? And are you now religious or spiritual? What would you say you are where you are now in your life?
I started out by going to church to escape my family. And my mother was the choir director and the secretary. And so she got me into singing in the church. And that's what drew me to the church, was the singing. Wow. But when I was 13, she and I were walking up the stairs of the church, and the gardener was walking downstairs, and she said, "Well, Joe, what are you doing with that shovel?" And he said, "I'm going to bury a N-word."
Oh, okay.
And I left the church at that time, and I became a wandering whatever. But when the psychic stuff started coming up, and working with Eunice and learning about that felt very religious to me. And then I was, like I said, Edgar Cayce, Jane Roberts. I was all afterlife experiences. I wasn't so interested in UFOs as much as what happens when you die. So when I channeled Jesus for Party of 12, I became more interested in the Bible. And Kim, one of the psychic sorority sisters, knows the Bible better than anybody. I will challenge anybody. And her thing, she's not Christian either, but nobody owns Jesus. So I think I'm this kind of hybrid of, I have this really core belief that the real religion is compassion.
Barbara, before I hit you with a couple quick questions at the end, I have a podcast called Afraid of Nothing. You've said Afraid of Nothing a couple different times. The reason I call this podcast Afraid of Nothing was I had a mother who was, we all become, when your mother dies and leaves the world, it's kind of like the world gets smaller. It affects a lot of people, and it affected me. And I felt, I had to get a better understanding and talk to people who understood things better than me. Because when my mother passed, it was kind of cold and clinical. She had Alzheimer's. There wasn't any kind of seeing spirits coming or anything. It was like a 7-day vigil of her struggling with every breath. So I kind of struggle with that. And so my Afraid of Nothing was half the world thinks there's nothing to be afraid of. The other half, because there is a heaven, and other half thinks that there is nothing, so you should be afraid because there'll be absolutely, you'll fade to black. And so I started talking to psychics and people and a wide range of people to get a viewpoint that I didn't have because I had kind of tunnel vision. That's my Afraid of Nothing. You have a different Afraid of Nothing. It's a fearless. It's a managing fear, I think. So let's talk about that. What you think about Afraid of Nothing from your perspective.
Well, I think the Afraid of Nothing in terms of the work that I do, which is what I wanted to interject, is that what we define fear, is as a two-part thing. One is fear, which is an emotion. It doesn't have a definition of why you feel it or where it came from. It's just there. The other are fearful thoughts. So I think what happens for me is when I feel afraid, just feel it, like you're afraid. Sometimes you're afraid to do good things, right? I'm afraid of a big speech I'm going to give or whatever. Is that I embrace the feeling with my breath, and I think I've always done this because I've always done things that people are like, you're so courageous. I don't know. I'm not afraid of it, but I feel it, but I don't let the thought stop me from doing something. Like, okay, I was a little afraid when they said they were angels, but that wasn't going to stop me from moving forward. It was about processing that feeling. And I think if there was something that I want to leave people with from all of this talk, because we've covered a lot of ground that is back to conflict resolution, is that feelings are one thing, and how we process it, how we relate to it. Like, for example, your fear of letting go of your mother or the sadness or the mourning. We train people to process that differently. So it's with the breath work, it's with the body. It's not with the intellect and the thinking. And then when your mind's going crazy, right? Your mind has all these fearful thoughts. That's a whole different skill set that we train people to do. So you've got these two kind of tracks that are sort of realigning the whole idea of, being alive, having emotion, intuition, intellect, how to work with all that. But I love it. I love the name. And I think it's funny you said that about either you go to heaven or there's nothing and you should be afraid. I think if there really is where it's just like nothing, like we just go into a hole in the ground. My ex-husband believed that too. We just go in the hole ground and then we're gone. Well, then there's really nothing to be afraid of either way, is there?
Yeah, true. One question for you is, so you were a singer, your own rock band. Have you channeled anyone in heaven that's died that's a rock, like Elvis or someone like that or Ozzy Osbourne? Have you channeled anyone and spoke to any of the rock legends since you've been doing this?
Well, I have a whole experience with Elvis, although I haven't channeled him per se, but I did do an interview with Kurt Cobain. And that was really insightful as well. And but yeah, it's like I said, they kind of come to me. I mean, except for the party where it was like, what? Princess die? I don't know. But I don't go like looking for, hey, let's go talk to so-and-so. Usually it's like, wait, is that Carl Jung who just showed up? What? Why wasn't he part of the original Party of 12? What?
Yeah. Or a musician. Why isn't a musician in part of the original Party of 12? I don't think there is, right? Or
yeah. Well, they're probably all too busy.
Partying.
Partying.
Yeah, right.
They are.
Enjoying life. They're not questioning. They deal with the small stuff.
Yeah.
So tell us about anything. You've done a ton of podcasts recently. It shows on your website. What do you have coming up? Tell us your website. It's a really nice looking website. A lot of great stuff, well organized. And where can people buy your books and anything else you want to promote?
Well, the website is barbarawith.com. And the first thing is up in the right-hand corner, I have the Conflict Revolution Challenge. So if you are inspired to want to resolve your conflicts first within you, that's going to give you a free download of everything you need to do, including a 12-week journal where you can keep track of the miracles that you create. And all my books are on there. My music is on there. My CD, Innocent Future, is downloadable. I've got meditation tapes. I've got some master classes in the Unified Field Theory and in Conflict Revolution. It'll take you over to Synergy Alliance, which is the publishing company that has been publishing and all kinds of things. And if you want to have a reading with me, you can use the code Einstein and get 40% off of the reading. Right. And this year I am publishing the 25th anniversary of Party of 12, the Afterlife interviews. And there will be some other famous dead people who showed up over the past 25 years who now want to add their voice to the.
Well, that's great. When you do it, come back and we'll talk about some of that. That'd be awesome. I think that's a fascinating read. Well, Barbara, thank you so much for your time today and your patience with me. And I had a wonderful conversation with you. I'm so glad we met.
Yes, you too, Bob. Thanks so much. And thanks to everybody.
Hey, you're still here? Great. Then why not listen to another episode? Visit afraidofnothingpodcast.com to peruse all the shows. That's afraidofnothingpodcast.com. And while you're there, click the coffee cup icon to buy me a coffee and leave a review. I'll give you a shout out in an upcoming episode. And the world will know how swell you are.